Good evening. Welcome to Calvary Chapel, Greenville, Texas. This beautiful dark room. And I was looking at the stream and I was like, man, that is really dark. So I'm kind of the beacon in the thing, strangely enough. It's a dark room. We're going to fix the lights. Don't worry about that. We'll get it done. Not today. Alrighty. To find us, we're at Kavanaugh. And if you're looking at the screen right now, I'm guessing there's a big old-looking building on the left side and then double glass doors on the right side of that screen. We're behind the glass double doors right now. Glass double doors actually happen to... You can pretty much find us every time you walk through those glass double doors on Sunday mornings. And we're going to maybe make some modifications on that at some point in the near future, but that's another story for another day. First thing that comes up on our line is a women's ministry thing. That happens at 5:30 on Wednesday or Tuesday nights. Don't come on Wednesday night. It's on Tuesday nights. And that's behind the glass double doors, going through 1 Corinthians. So that's a good thing there. Then the next thing coming up is the first Wednesday. I have them memorized somewhat in order. And what's the next first Wednesday going to be? Speaking in tongues. All right. So, do what? Oh, Anchor Bereans. So that we do that on Friday morning at 6 a.m. That's way early. But we're happy there. Shut up, Javier. You got to show up, okay? Anyways, so we're taking that next level soon. I've got microphones on their way. The video stuff is getting ready to go. AV, we're going to do it. We're going to be live on that deal. It's probably going to be awkward. I think we're going to have to shift down to the other side so we have lighting, because we'd have to add so much light to one of these rooms over here. It's just unreal. So we'll probably be down in the fellowship hall or something like that. But we'll figure it all out. So we're going through the book of Revelation right now in Anchor Bereans. We invite you to come out. Even you, Javier. Even you. At 6 a.m. on a Friday morning. Yes. If you want me to have breakfast here, I'll have breakfast for you. Is that tempting? Okay, because I brought breakfast last week. I did. See, I'm a nice guy. That's just how that works. It was kolaches, but it was good. It was food. There's a better place to get kolaches from, and that's the one I went to this time. But, yeah, that's pretty much what you can hope for, because I'm not going to wake up and cook. That's already too early. So, all right, what's next on the list? Communion. That happens on the first Sunday of the month. And then, what are we looking at now? Book of Acts. That's happening on Sunday mornings, every Sunday morning. And we saw Paul and his conversion recently, and somebody sent me a video, and I thought, man, this is pretty interesting, concerning the name of Saul/Paul, which we'll talk about that soon on Sunday mornings. Probably another couple of chapters, really. But we will continue looking at Saul a little bit closer this coming Sunday, and we'll move on from there. And then what's left? Nothing. That's it. We're actually on our passage now. So we're in Ezra. We've been in Ezra for a week. So last week was a bit of a train wreck. All sorts of things were happening last week. And so we ended up not even going online. Not only did we not go online, but we didn't even do Ezra. So if you're like, man, I'm skipping out on Ezra too. Yeah, tough. Because we're going to cover it anyways. Nobody showed up. I showed up late. We barely all just got here. And I said, you know what? Let's just do a quick Bible study. And nothing's ever quick with me, but let's just do a quick Bible study, and we ended up having a grand old time. And so, not quite the Anchor Berean way, but in that theme. So, because that's the best way I can see or say to do that. Alrighty, Ezra chapter 2. You'll recall that Ezra doesn't even appear in the book of Ezra early on. It's later on when we'll see Ezra. At first, it's not him, but you're going to see that they've gone back per order technically per order of God. I'm going to jump over to chapter 1 real quick. Sorry about that noisy handle. So as Cyrus sends them back, but it's the Lord who has made that to happen. So now they're back in the land, and they're going to build this temple. Now what we're going to see here is the first part. We're going to cover chapter 2, but chapter 2 is like 1,000,000 verses long, right? So it's a lot of basically naming of the people who were there. I don't care about naming all those people that are there. There is some advantage to knowing that. I would encourage you to study that out if you want to, but for the interest of what we're doing here, that's not really the area I want to keep focused on. But I'm going to read a few of the blurbs of it so we can kind of get a handle and a gist of what's happening in chapter 2. And it's not going to pop up. Only chapter 3 is going to pop up, so don't get excited when it doesn't show up. Now, these were the people of the province who came up out of the captivity of those exiles whom Nebuchadnezzar, the king of Babylon, had carried captive to Babylonia. They returned to Jerusalem and Judah, each to his own town. They came with Zerubbabel, Jeshua, Nehemiah, Sariah, and so we're just going to get into a bunch of names. There's one name that I wanted to throw on there. I want you to take a quick look at. Does anybody know why we call Jesus Jesus? It's not his name. What's my name in German? It's Johann, right? What's my name in Spanish? Juan. What's my name in English? John. Every time we move languages, we mess some stuff up. Yeshua was the name that was what he went by. That's his name, Yeshua. And so you'll hear and see some people talking about Yeshua. And then, so it's like, well, then how did we get to Jesus? Well, translation. Sometimes the words don't translate well. I'm doing my Greek class, and I noticed the Greek teacher, who native Greek speaker, doesn't speak English that well, kept on talking and messing up words, messing up really easy words. Am I hearing the TV? Okay, maybe not. Is that what it is? You sneak around and grab that remote and turn it down. It's the big goofy looking remote. So there we go. Whenever you move different languages, you get different sounds. The SH sound, as in shop or ship or whatever you would find, fish perhaps, that's not in Greek. They don't make a sh sound. So it wouldn't be fish. They wouldn't say it as fish. The tape's just weak. The whole thing went down. Can you even see my face now? No? At least one side stayed up. Somebody come up here, climb on that ladder high, and long tape. Yeah, I'm going to keep going. You're just going to see people walking around me. We only need to get to one side anyways. Actually, you won't see anything because it's this. Everybody in the church, come up here now. No. Do what? You still see some movement. Okay, perfect. Anyways, so if you were Greek and you were trying to say fish, you would say fists because there's no sh sound in it. So, Yesu is how you would say Jesus. It's loosely Yesu. But it becomes Jesus as you try to move it from language to language to language. The reason I say all that is on that one spot there where you see it's Yeshua, because you think, well, wait a second, that's Jesus' name. Well, that was a priest's name too. And that just goes to say that that was a common name. Nothing to get super excited about, but it was a common name, and that's the things that happen. So now that we have that loosely established in there, we can slide on down the passage. There's sons of this, sons of that. That goes all the way through. Let's jump down to verse 59. See how quickly we can move through chapter 2? The following were those who came up from Tel Melah, that one, Cherub, Adon, Immer, though they could not prove their fathers' houses nor their descent, whether they belonged to Israel, or they belonged to Israel, the sons of Deliah, the sons of Tobiah, the sons of Nekoda. And so it goes through this. There's some people that didn't quite belong. All that to say that. And they were trying to get everything down there to establish, to get set up. Everybody wants to be part of the cool thing that's happening, right? And so this time the cool thing that was happening was setting the temple back up. And Ezra focuses on the temple. Nehemiah focuses on the wall. These are the two different things that we see. Now this evening as we look at it, we're going to see two different things being put together. We'll go ahead and read verse 70, then we'll move on to chapter 3. Now the priests, the Levites, and some of the people, the singers, the gatekeepers and the temple servants, lived in their towns, and all the rest of Israel in their towns. So they're kind of moving back to town, getting set up. But they have something that they got to do. They were told to go back and build that temple. And so that's what they're going to do. Now we're in chapter 3. See how easy this is? It's like it's almost too easy. Alrighty. So starting now in verse 1 of chapter 3, what happened now? The other side came down. Well, isn't that inconvenient? This is why we use the Gorilla Tape. I got this tape because it was black. And that was going to be this. And it's 3M. 3M always makes a superior product until today. 3M, get it right. Gorilla's got you beat. So, that's all right. We have our tape meister on his way now to make the fourth repair to the backdrop. We appreciate you. So much fun, right? Verse number 1. Yeah, we just leave it up. So verse number 1. When the 7th month came, and the children of Israel were in the towns, the people gathered as one man to Jerusalem. Then arose Jeshua, and they built the altar of God of Israel to offer burnt offerings on it, as it is written in the law of Moses, the man of God. So just as we begin this part, you see them, the whole idea is to build a temple. Well, what are two things that need to happen in the temple? And it's kind of what we're talking about tonight. But what are two things that need to happen in the temple? Well, you need to have an altar, right? You need to have a place for the sacrifice, because the atonement for the sin is the shedding of blood. Look at me trying to go Greek all in it. It's the shedding of blood. It's the shedding of blood. And so you have to have an altar. You have to have an area or a place where you can do this operation. It has to be there. And so that's one of the first things they're going to set up. They're going to set up that altar, get everything ready to go as much as possible, and so that it's going to work the way it ought to work. Notice the attitude, if you will, of how they're going to do it. And it says in verse 2 that as it is written in the law of Moses, the man of God. So they're trying to follow the rules closely. They're trying to stay on spot. They're trying to do everything the absolute right way. It's kind of in contrast to when they left, isn't it? If you recall the time of the kings, there was a time when everything was going really well, then it was going so bad. Then it was going really well, then it was going bad. And it seemed to be this wild ebb and flow that happened, hinging on who the king was, how that king was trying to make things happen. And at this time now, okay, things are okay, but now they're coming back. And of course, they've come back specifically to rebuild a temple for this part of it. Now they're coming back. You're going to notice too, as we go through this, they come back in waves. It's not just one time. It's not just all, boop, hey, it's time to go back home. And you'll find actually that most of them don't even return home. We have boy, it depends on where you land on the political aisle on this one. Whoever thought talking Bible would get political, but let's go for it. Ready? The majority of the Jews are still currently not back in Israel. There was a time many of them are gone, but right now, most of them are not back. And so now we have the two factions of people, the Zionists and the non-Zionists, or however it works out to be. And it's like, well, should Israel be back in their land? Yeah, they're supposed to be back in their land. Well, should we defend everything that they do? And it becomes kind of a dicey topic, right? It actually becomes quite the dicey topic. Depending on who you listen to, who you talk to, I mean, it gets really complicated. What happens? Should we as Christians support Israel being in their land? Yeah. Should we support them doing nefarious things to other countries and places around the world? Well, no. See, to me, it's clear as water, or crystal clear. You know, it's super easy to go. And so you just leave that there. You're probably going to need it again. So anyways, to me, it's crystal clear. We're going to set this by the ladder just for a second. Now we're good to go. Do it. So as we look at the current political thought, it's like, well, not all of them have gone back. Some of them don't want to go back. And that's fine. You're not required to do so. That is God's promised land. There's a whole lot of stuff behind that one. Just because some of them are back and doing, hey, that's fine. I don't want to make this a topic about this, but might as well, while we're sitting here, just kind of at least address this. Does the nation Israel belong in that land? 100%. Should they do whatever horrible things they want to do? No. See, they're not serving God right now. But here's the interesting thing that just baffles me. God didn't require that for them to be in the land before. They did stupid things, and God said, well, you're still my people, but, let's work it out, And I believe God's still in that place. I believe that God's still having to work some things out with these guys. And so it becomes a complicated topic. Do we support Israel? We support God, right? And if God wants them there, then God has them there, and that's his thing. It's a prerogative. That's fine. Do they belong there? Yeah. Are they perfect? No. But then that comes to the idea that, are we perfect? Patricia, I know that you're perfect, but the rest of us are struggling over here. You know what I'm saying? We got some problems of our own. Now, we don't support a Christian brother or sister in a situation where they're doing something stupid and wrong, but we understand that they're still a Christian brother or sister. The people of Israel, by and large, are not Christian. Does that mean that we hate them? No. In fact, God tells us that we're to love everybody. And Jesus makes that very plain and evident, that you and I, we are to love people. Okay. So now what? See, it gets really complicated, doesn't it? So the children of Israel, as they're coming back here, they should have all come at once. They should have just been there. They should have said, oh, hey, look, it's time to go back home. Let's all go back home. But what we find is sometimes we're happy where we are. And maybe it's not where God wants us, but we're happy where we are, and we're just plain and simple to stay there. And the reality is we're not supposed to do that. Now, I say that, and this doesn't really measure the same way, but it kind of is how I think through it. We were getting ready to move back to Texas, and of course, Jennifer was pushing me. She's like, we got to go. And I'm like, we're home. Arkansas was perfectly fine. I was fine with Arkansas. But she's like, no, we got, and she gave her varying reasons. I'm like, okay. So, okay, well, then let's go. And so we came to Texas, or back to Texas, where we're from. And not to say those people from California got to go back. I'm not talking to you, Javier. But you're actually from Texas anyway, so I don't want to talk too much trash. He just stayed out there too long. He got infected by the Californians. Anyways, and maybe that's what you did, Javier. Maybe you came home. Thank you, Javier, for coming home. When I moved out here, I said, I just came home. So Javier said he just came back home. So that's good. We're glad you're home. We love you. We're happy you're here. But so sometimes you're supposed to go back where God says you're supposed to be. And I would say this too. There's been so many times that somebody became a missionary and they went to where God told them you're supposed to be there. We need to have that mindset. We need to have that thing. The people of Israel are going to slowly trickle back in. So there's going to be some problems. Anyways, we're not going to focus on the problems tonight. We're actually pretty happy with what they're doing. Let's go down to verse 3 now. They set the altar in its place. And they offered burnt offerings on it to the Lord, burnt offerings morning and evening. Booths, as it is written, and offered the daily burnt offerings by number according to the rule, as each day required. And after that, and the offerings of everyone who made a freewill offering to the Lord. So they're in the process, and they're in the might as well use this thing. They're going to, I want to be careful to say something here. They're not, because I've heard this, and I'm like, I don't agree with this. So let me say that to begin with. They are not in partial obedience to God. They just can't build this thing overnight. Because you're going to find out the next thing they build is the foundation for the temple, which means the altar's not even really protected yet. I mean, it's not where it needs to be. So they're in the process of doing this. And what I would say to this too, and we'll see this as Nehemiah builds his wall, but even though we're in the task, and I would say this, there is a task ahead of us, whatever that task may be for you or for me or whatever it is, there's a task that's going on that we need to be faithful to God in the process of accomplishing whatever task. Just because it's not done doesn't mean you can't get moving on it, right? And sometimes that's awkward, and sometimes it doesn't feel right. Remember when we moved from the small building to the last building that we were at? And that first Sunday was just, I mean, that was disaster. 8 kinds of a disaster, right? But what happened? We just got in there. We were faithful. We started going through it, and it worked. Now, did it work perfectly? Of course not, but that's just part of the fun. But it did what it was supposed to do. We were faithful to God, simply serving, trying to do the right thing. And then what did we see while we were there? You know, we saw things, again, taking a certain shape and a certain hold, and it was working the way it's supposed to. We have to be faithful even in the times. Sorry, tired eye. Even in the times when we don't think, well, I don't have it completely done. We still have to be faithful in that time. We all have to. So let's say that God's given you a task. I feel like I've got all sorts of tasks, and I try to decipher which one's me and which one's God, but here we go. And I'm one of these people. I want to see it 100% before we pull a trigger on it. That's why this, going online with ingredients, it's going to take a minute because we've got to get some things in place. Not a big worry. Could we go on before that? Yeah, I'm sure we could, but it just wouldn't be functionally right? So there's like a line that we have to meet up to. For them, it's to build an altar. For them, it's to have everything ready so that they can make these sacrifices to God. You'll recall in Genesis when Adam and Eve sinned against God, he covered them with coats of animals, right? The animals didn't just freely say, well, here's my skin. There was a blood sacrifice that happened for that. That's what God showed at the very onset, in the very beginning. We find out in the book of Hebrews that we're no longer bound under that because the blood of bulls and goats could only take us so far, but it was the blood of the sinless Lamb, Jesus Christ, that carries us the rest of the way. So they're making all the things that they're supposed to be doing. They're starting to honor all the sacrifices they need to do. They're trying to get back into the motion because that the time that they were in Babylon, the times they were in captivity, they couldn't do all these things. And I don't understand that 100%. They were gone for 70 years. I haven't even been alive for 70 years, right? 70 years is a very long time. It just is. I say it's not long in the concept of God, right? Some of us have been on this earth for a long time. No, but I mean, hey, we're sneaking up behind you. It's just part of it. Do you remember clearly what happened when you were in diapers? No. Was that a long time ago? Then hush. All right. It's just like you don't recall those things because it was so long ago. And one of the things I think about as we go through it is like, well, surely they didn't recognize all this stuff, but they had to go back to the Bible. They had to go back to what was it that Moses said do. And in the fact that Moses said to do these things, they said, all right, well, this is how we're going to have to handle this. Going now down to verse 6. It says, from the first day of the 7th month, the of the Lord was not yet laid. So they gave money to Tyrians, thank you, to bring cedar trees from Lebanon to the sea to Joppa, according to the grant that they had from Cyrus, king of Persia. So yeah, they have the altar kind of most part set up and ready to go, but they don't have a place. And we think about this. I would look at this, and maybe I titled this wrong, but because this should be the church plant, right? We're going to start off with the basic things for God, but we don't have a place to do it. That's okay. How many church plants have you seen meet somewhere that they really don't belong? Or they're in a school, or they're in a whatever else, or a coffee house. I've seen all sorts of weird stuff. Maybe a music lesson shop, right? Some of us remember that. You guys don't remember that. What a nightmare that was. How many different kinds of chairs did we have at that time? Like 15? I don't know. And we had 20 chairs, you know what I'm saying? Now, there were some that matched, and when we left there, what did we do? Left them. Because we're like, we don't need this junk no more. We've kept some chairs, but not many. So I think we have like 3 chairs left from the original. But you kind of go and you do because you're trying to serve God, and you're trying to figure out, how do I worship? How do we lock these things in? And you don't ever have everything figured out on day one. But we can start worshiping and serving God. But hey, we got the worship thing figured out. We're doing the sacrifices when we need to do them. We're kind of okay now. So what's the next step? We need to have a permanent place. I joke with everybody, calling us the couch surfing church. Like, how many places have we been so far? And I know that Tom here, he's been really awesome, and he says, look, don't ever leave here. Well, maybe not, maybe so, I don't know. But like, this isn't home for us. Or maybe, I don't know. Wherever we go, we're going to make it work out. That's how we're going to do it. But we don't know. But like, if we were to build a building somewhere, then now it's time to lay it down. It's interesting that God's provided a place for us to be every time, that's for sure. But we need to have a place where we can throw our signs out, which they let us throw our signs out here. We need to have a place that, when you walk in, you go, oh, that's Calvary Chapel. And that would be the fellowship hall. Dancing ladies there tonight. Anyways, not that I hold any grudges. We have better lighting down there, though. Anyways, but we have to have a place where we can gather together and we can focus on Jesus. Can we do that at houses? Well, sure we could. But it's hard to invite somebody new to town to somebody's house. I'm like, well, this seems kind of awkward and sketchy, right? Those days may have changed a little bit, let's just say. And so we have to have a place. And so that's exactly what they're looking at. Now, if you look and see what they did there, hey, look, we don't have a foundation yet, so we're going to have to do this. So they gave money to the Masons. We're not talking about the organization, the secret, whatever like that. We're talking about guys who put bricks together. And then the carpenters, and then they did some food and drink, so like, hey, we got to sustain these people. And then they traded with the people to get the cedars. So they're trading for the materials they need to make the product, make the place. And so that's really what the focus kind of became. And so now they begin to rebuild the temple. Look with me in verse